Thank you, Naila, so much. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm so pumped after that music. And yeah, you saw us having fun in front here. And I must tell, that has to be the most powerful showcase of the power of collaboration, don't you think? Yes. In all of history. Yeah, I love this song so much, and I know every one of us does. And what a very appropriate song to choose, Naila, for this amazing event of ours. And again, good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you have enjoyed your lunch. It was delicious, right? Thank you, Amanda, and your team for providing us such a delicious lunch. Again, my name is Janet C. Salazar. I'm so honored to be here. But most importantly, I'm honored that I am able to facilitate a very powerful panel, I must say. I have very, very amazing speakers that we're going to be with today, this afternoon. And so, but very briefly, I wanted to just let you know how dear to me this theme is of the panel, which is power of collaboration. I myself was raised by a community. My mom got widowed when she was 22. I was 5, and my brother was a crawling baby. And so, yeah, my father died when I was 5, and she didn't know anything except for one, and that is she comes from a family of caterers. So she brought us back to her province where her entire clan is. And while she was building her restaurant business, which became very, very successful, and thanks to her, I inherited, I guess, that business mindset. It runs in the family. But because she had to feed us. She had to make a living for me and my brothers, send us to school, etc. She didn't have a lot of time to care for us at the same time. And this is where all her tribe, her clan, came together to raise me and my brother and help in our care. My cousins, my uncles, my aunties, everybody to help to raise me and my brother. And so it was a kind of like a compound, and it's all her clan. And so who you see right now here standing in front of you is a product of somebody raised by a community, and I couldn't be so thankful for that and so grateful. The same thing with what we're doing here right now. Amanda was saying earlier that there's a recurring theme, which is why not? And I want to take that to the next level. Thank you for the next level phrase, Twyla. And I want to say, that's not where you stop when you ask why not, right? You want to take it to the next level is that you ask for others to share in your vision. What you see, why not, and then you ask everybody, can we do it? Right? And the people who share the same vision with you questioning why not, you'll be surprised they'll come to you. Same thing, this is a very powerful example, what we're having right now, the launch of this Global Empowerment Summit with Naila. It started with Naila and Amanda and Anna, and look, we're all here. We have the amazing university behind us and the other sponsors. That shows what it is when you say power of collaboration. Nothing can ever be accomplished without collaboration, don't you think? Who here disagree with me? You better not. All right. So with that said, I am honored to call on my distinguished speakers, who are also dear to my heart. I want to start with Tatiana. Tatiana Canzavelli. I'm not going to say anything about them. I'm going to actually want them to introduce themselves to you, because these you have to hear from them. I'm just here to facilitate the conversation and to be kind of like a bridge between you later on and them, but that's all I want to do. I want them actually, each of them, to connect with you and vice versa. So Tatiana Canzavelli is one of the speakers, and then Jana, please join Tatiana. Thank you. Yes. Why don't you give them a round of applause. Thank you, Jana and Anita. Please join us. Thank you so much. The beautiful Anita. All my panelists are beautiful. And this is what's most exciting about our panel. We have a gentleman. You know why this is so special to me? Because I created, with Impact Leadership 21, I created a very unique panel. It's called Conversations with Men. Yeah, I believe that that's the missing link when you talk about advancing, and actually I don't want to use the word advancement. When you talk about accelerating women's economic empowerment and women's leadership at the top level, I believe, and so does all our community and supporters with Impact, we believe that the missing link to do that is to engage men. So for all the men we have here today, I want you to raise your hands, please. Come on, do me a favor, just raise your hands. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Because a lot of times when you talk about empowerment, when you talk about global stuff, automatically for some reason they say, oh, it's for women. Right? Would you agree? So I'm very happy. No. Yes. Yes, exactly. So we're very happy that we're actually joined by a lot of our male counterparts today. I really thank you. And so going back to our male panelists, I'd like to call on the very handsome Armin Orion. Please come, let's join us. Thank you, Armin. Thank you. Ooh, I get a kiss for that. All right, thank you so much. And so I think for this part, my job is going to take on a pause, and I actually want each of them to introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Tatiana, and we just move forward. Take it away.
Hello. Okay, I think I'm on. Yeah. I'm thrilled to be here, and thanks for Janet to inviting me for this panel. A few months ago, I was at the White House, and I was in the East Wing, and I was pinching myself that I was invited by the White House to do a demo of my company that I started at the first White House Demo Day, hosted by President Obama. The reason I was pinching myself because when I was growing up in Azerbaijan, in my wildest dreams, I would never imagine me being in the United States at the White House and talking, presenting the company that I started. And we talk a lot about immigrants and refugees. So I'm here. I'm an immigrant. I came as a refugee with few suitcases and nothing else. So my husband and I and our little daughter, who was 3 at that time, we slept on the floor. We didn't have anything. And thanks to the community that we're able to get to, where we are. But there was a special meaning to me being at the White House talking about my company, because, my birthday is on November 26th, but for the last 2 years, and it will be 3rd year this year, I don't celebrate my birthday on my birthday, because I have a second day. Now it's February 6th. The reason it's February 6th because that's when I had my surgery. It was a cancer surgery. And it was almost 3 years ago when I had it. The interesting thing is, and again, it goes back to a lot of things that you guys talked about, how horrible, bad setbacks in your life can empower you to do something good. So cancer actually empowered me. Before, when I went to surgery, and I didn't know the stage and, anything in terms of prognosis, I realized that there are certain pieces that I needed at the time when I got a phone call, and I was alone at home, and I got a phone call, oh, you have cancer. And from that time, it was a rocky kind of way for me, never been sick, and the things that happen. I came with the idea on how I can change and make it easier for people who get chronic diseases to manage certain things when they go through the process. So I called a guy that I knew, and I asked him for help. I said, I know exactly what needs to be done in healthcare space. I'm dealing with this right now. I might sound crazy. I was just diagnosed with cancer, and I'm going to the surgery, but I'm looking for people to join me. When I explained my idea, he said, I'm quitting my job, and I'm joining you. So we started a company, Open Health Network, so I'm CEO and the founder, and it's mobile health platform. What I wanted to do, I wanted to enable people to collaborate on their diseases, but more than that, I wanted to remove all the things that hold back healthcare professionals from delivering what they know they can deliver. And we built this powerful platform where anyone can go on our website and build super robust, exceptional mobile health apps with few clicks in one day. And those apps, they run on any device in any language. So now healthcare organizations, and they include chronic pain, cancer, all different countries, physicians can go in hospitals and they all can go and build for training, for education, for patient management, for collaboration between all the patients. We will help to transform volume-based care into value-based care, and people can do that with our platform in a short time frame. You can read my bio, so I wouldn't go, I think I'm like exceeding my time. I am like, but you can read about other things that, I'm doing outside of that, including support of women entrepreneur and global collaboration, and we'll be more than happy to meet with you if you have any questions. Thank you.
Just on a side note, before we start with Jana, I want everybody to know, just to honor Tatiana's commitment to this event, she was actually one of the people who got stranded at the mudslide in Northern California. She started driving from her home in San Jose, where I stay whenever I'm in Northern California, 10 a.m. yesterday.
No, the day before.
Oh, the day before. I'm sorry, the day before. And she did not arrive, and I waited for her last night until what time? 12:30? 11-ish, towards 12 o'clock. But she made it. She's here. And so I wanted to honor her for that. Thank you for your spirit, Tatiana. Thanks so much. Jana, it's your turn.
Hello. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Jana, and I'm sorry I'm a little bit emotional after hearing this story. All day I've been contemplating whether or not I should share my personal story, but after hearing Tatiana, I think she gave me the courage to also share that I was also an immigrant, and we escaped the war in Bosnia together with my mom and my sister. We had to leave my father in Bosnia to protect the country, because that's what all men were ordered to do. So at the time I was 4, and my sister was 11, and we escaped in a car with 3 women and 6 children, where the youngest was 1-year-old and my sister was the oldest. And right as we were exiting Sarajevo, we were captured and held hostage for 3 days. And with the help of UN peacekeepers, they negotiated with the soldiers, and they finally let us go, and we continued to flee and ended up in Croatia. And from Croatia to Sweden, where I had the privilege of getting an education and growing up and playing sports. And today I think I came to this country through a tennis scholarship and got an education in international relations and diplomacy. And today I work at the United Nations Global Compact, which is the world's largest corporate sustainability initiative that supports and inspires and works together with the private sector to encourage companies to do business responsibly by aligning their business operations and strategies with 10 universal principles in the areas of human rights, anti-corruption, environment, and labor. And I work on our women's empowerment team, in particular with our initiative called Women's Empowerment Principles, which is a joint initiative with UN Women that focuses on guiding companies on how to empower women in the workplace, marketplace, and community. And I left a few postcards outside, and this is the principles, and I think I'll stop there.
Thank you, Jana.
Okay, is it on? Yes? Okay, my name's Anita Raj. I am a professor of medicine and global public health at University of California, San Diego. I'm very proud to be here to represent my university with the support of Anna and Nyla and her team inviting me here. So I am going to leave my bio out. It's all written in there if you want to know more about me. But I really want to talk to you today about the Center on Gender Equity and Health here at UCSD. I'm the founding director of the center. And we established the center at UCSD as a group of faculty and researchers dedicated to creating the evidence base on why and how improving the status, opportunities, autonomy, and safety of women and girls can impact health globally. And that's really the goal of what we want to do as a center. I am one researcher in this room that does this. There's a few others, Dr. Silverman, Dr. Reed. And if you have not heard of us, perhaps you heard that among sex workers at the border, those that enter into sex work are about 3 times more likely. And the ones that enter into sex work under the age of 18 are about 3 times more likely to have HIV. That's Dr. Silverman's work. It was showcased on KPBS not very long ago. Did you know that when we engage men and boys in family planning in India, the families are about 50% more likely to use contraception? That was my work. I'm very proud of that. Did you know that when you did you know that when you engage in financial schemes to support women in sex work, you can reduce their risk for domestic violence? That is Dr. Reed's work. Did you know that if you are in Uganda among women who are at increased risk for HIV, if you support them to reduce their vulnerabilities to domestic violence, you can actively reduce their risk for HIV? This is the work we do, and we can do this on a level that tells the story of people like Twyla, who, that was a very moving story to see someone empowered as an individual to create change in their lives. But so often when you hear those stories, it's very easy to write up, well, that's a unique individual. We don't know that could go to scale. We're here as researchers to not only document with as much rigorous methodology as possible that these things can go to scale, but that they are in fact able to go to scale and are true. If we empower and support women and girls, we can improve health, not just for the women, but for the women, the girls, their children, and their communities. So that's the real goal of our Center on Gender Equity and Health. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that I'm getting to work in a context where those goals are aligned with the strategic plan of our university. Our strategic plan has 2 major goals of reducing disparities and improving human life. And what we want to do at the center is central to achieving those goals. Our work includes focus on things like girl-child marriage in South Asia and West and Central Africa, reproductive autonomy and HIV in Sub-Saharan Africa, sexual exploitation and trafficking right here in San Diego and at the border in Tijuana, as well as child survival globally. We are very proud of the kind of impact we can have. We had the opportunity to participate in providing our evidence to help develop indicators for the Sustainable Development Goals recently. I got to be in New York and have those discussions. We want to do good science. We want to do good work. But if that work doesn't translate into the policy and practical changes to improve the lives of people around the world, we haven't done our job. And that's really what we want to do as a center, and I believe that's what we want to do as a university. But producing the science to support the evidence-based change at local to global levels requires collaboration. And that's what I really want to just kind of close with talking about, is the power of collaboration. We couldn't do our work if we didn't have the collaboration with governments, non-governmental non-governmental organizations, multilateral organizations like UNICEF and UNFPA. I'm going to be meeting new panelists that I didn't get to know today, and I hope that those are opportunities to build collaboration. Because only through these collaborations are we able to participate in a global process of change. We, in academia, don't want to be part of the ivory tower anymore. We want to be part of the change that makes solutions in the lives of women and girls around the world.
Fabulous. Thank you, Anita, so much. Armin.
We've got leaders from almost every country in Africa. The objective is really to focus African minds together, to see the future of Africa in the same way, and then to agree on how to move from here to where we want to be.
You want to aspire and achieve your aspirations. Young people, you have to work hard. There are no shortcuts.
Youth by nature are innovative, are creative, and they like technology. So if we put all that together, then you find that the potential for them to transform communities is just real. It is really very much connected with this entrepreneurship web 3.0 because these leaders have expressed their confidence in the young people of this continent.
I was motivated by meeting different people who have the same passion with me in the same sector and understanding how ICT could really transform Africa.
Over the last couple of days, we've been having a series of meetings with the teams, some discussions talking about how to be successful entrepreneurs. We're very pleased today to have with us some individuals that have actually experienced success as entrepreneurs.
The most important things when you want to sell some things is the story. What is the story of your product? What is the market, and how can you talk with them with that product? You know, only Africa know what Africa needs. I was talking to young people, you say, around you, you have many of problems. And our problem have a solution, and our solution is a startup.
We challenge each other's startup smart business models. We poke holes in our business models to improve for our presentation tomorrow to panelists and to experts.
I'm the founder of FishMate. FishMate is the first of its kind online marketplace for buying and selling of fish.
We innovate, design and develop ICT solutions that address some of the acute problems in the African health system.
I believe you are going to win, so as part of winning, we need to make sure that the money that they give us, we put it to good use.
How does it feel to win?
Great, I'm excited. It's a miracle.
How does it feel to win?
Really, I see as you're asking that, it feels great.
From the people that I met, they are just changing my life, and that is what I was looking for.
The young people of Africa needs inspiration. Have confidence in yourself that in fact you can play a big role in transforming Africa.
I have had the privilege to both be very poor and well off. And I've had the privilege to found ASCO for us to bring opportunities to young men and women around the world. This was one of our recent programs in Rwanda. We brought in young entrepreneurs from 10 East African countries, and we had budding entrepreneurs, over 500 of them, from Rwanda. The way we accomplish success is in collaboration, but not only people. Success comes when the ecosystem is present. When the ecosystem isn't there, it's very challenging and nearly impossible for you to accomplish success. We've heard stories from Azerbaijan, Bosnia. I'm an immigrant from, at that time, Soviet Armenia, so I lived in USSR the same way Tatiana lived in USSR. She was a neighbor, and you lived part of the Eastern Bloc.
Armin?
Jana.
please excuse me, but there's actually a popular demand that you speak up louder, so everybody can hear you. Your amazing story and your voice. Thanks.
I have a soft voice, yeah. So we create ecosystems, and ecosystems consist of intellectual capacity, network capacity, and financial capacity. When we bring this ecosystem together, young people thrive no matter where they come from, no matter where we are. I actually happen to have an alum here, Michael. I didn't know he was supposed to be here, but he's here. He's participated in several of our programs. It's great to have an alum here. Actually, Nyla is on the board of directors of our organization. So the power of collaboration is critical when you're trying to bring success to people, especially in areas that are so underdeveloped and remote. But what we learned is, with the positive comes the negative. So we would come in and we establish this ecosystem and they thrive. And then a week later we're gone. So is the ecosystem. So we learned very quickly that unless you create something that is long-lasting, it's as great as it lasts. So it just doesn't continue. Our recent efforts have been more working with the government in establishing innovation hubs, accelerators, and whatnot, pushing, and we had a conversation with some of our colleagues here, Internet of Things, smart city concept in some of these areas as a way to engage their young people, not leaving those countries, but staying within and contributing to their societies. I know we're going to have a lot of questions coming from Janet, so I'll just leave it at that. Thanks for having us here, Nyla. This is a fantastic program, and every one of you, you've been exceptional, either audience, I was part of you until a minute ago, or as speakers. It's a privilege to be here.
Thank you so much, Armin. I'm actually going to change the beat of the music a little bit, and because we only have, I think, 12 minutes to be exact. So, and I promised earlier, we want to engage you, the audience, to actually ask the questions to our panelists. Know their stories. You know that all these four amazing people right here sitting in front of you have experienced the power of collaboration and what this word collaboration have done to propel their projects, to propel their stories, to propel their careers, etc., to be where they are right now. So if any one of you have questions, anything around, the importance of power of collaboration, or how do you, if you're having a problem collaborating with other people, with your projects, etc., maybe you can ask them for tips and stuff like this. Thank you so much. We have the first question. Yes, sir. Can we have a mic? Can someone? Okay, great. Please share with us your name and your organization.
Chris Wheel is my name. A question for Orion, Dr. Orion. Have I got the pronunciation right?
In my case, J isn't silent.
J is not silent?
It's not silent.
Okay.
So it's Orugian.
Okay.
Okay.
You could probably talk for hours about infrastructure development and the three components of it, but would you elaborate just a little bit more as to what actually happens? In you come, the infrastructure is not there, infrastructure is critical, infrastructure development is critical, and you haven't got a lot of time, apparently, so could you just tell us a bit more about how it works?
So we would create a microcosm of what a macrocosm should look like. Our innovation programs, for instance, will bring in an intellectual capacity. When I say intellectual capacity, knowledge base to an excess of whatever it is that we're looking. So it could be climate change we're looking at. It could be innovation as such or technological development. It could be women's issues that we're looking at. So we would bring in all the relevant ecosystem elements and put them into this microcosm of an innovation program to show to the entrepreneurs, but we also almost always have the government involved. Kind of.
That's where the money comes from?
Well, no. Actually, the money is not what we're after. What we're after is educating the government to show them that, look, what we can do to your population here within a couple of days.
But finance is one of the three components.
Yeah, financials is, granting could come in from the private sector or from international institutions. We work very closely with the World Bank and the United Nations. We also have programs at each of those entities, headquarters as well. So we would take in grants ourselves to give to young entrepreneurs for them to establish new projects, for instance. So, but we would create a microcosm to display to the governments, to the entrepreneurs, how it could work, and then how you can scale it to apply it in the entire infrastructure of the country.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question? Yes, please. Right here. I got this, Amanda.
Hi, I work in City Heights in a nonprofit there, and I've worked in community development in Africa as well. So I have a question for all of you. Based on our financial system in the world right now, what do you do to get investors and funders to actually make applications out of, for example, your research that you do in the Ivory Tower, or the government or anybody? How do you do that? Because that's a constant process for everybody. So if you have any good answers or solutions or tricks, that would be great.
Well, I think, that's the $1 million question, quite literally, right? I mean, a short answer, which is not a very helpful answer because you've got to get into the door to even get this, is the relationship building. That if you can develop the good relationships so that there can be the flow of ideas, we're finding that to be much more useful in helping generate next stage projects. We used to write very traditional grants where we would apply based on what we saw on the website, but when we had a greater opportunity to have dialogue with the donor or funder groups, we found that we were better able to match our skills and our goals with what they want. How you get into that door to have that conversation is a longer conversation.
I just want to add, I just was speaking at Global Entrepreneurship Summit in Kenya, and I know that U.S. government and some other governments committed lots of money to local organizations and governments. And well, no, it's not easy to partially get funded, but I think it's doable. So you can try to get funds here, or you can go and partner with those local organizations who now have money, or at least they're supposed to get money. Like in some of those countries, where quite a bit of funds have been committed. The other thing is that there are at least in Kenya, there are 4 or 5 VC funds, and they have different missions, and they might have allocations to invest in something that will support the entrepreneurial and the focus on Africa. So.
Oh, can I add one more statement? I think this is so important. Know your vision and stay true to it. It's going to be very easy when someone's talking to you about money to want to give them what they want. Know your vision and stay true to it. Don't let yourself get sidetracked. If you believe in it, hold it, because that's the only way you're going to grow.
Did that answer your question? Thank you so much. And just to piggyback, just very briefly, a couple of seconds, in this multi-million-dollar question of how do you get access to funding, because this is definitely a perennial problem, specifically also for a lot of women entrepreneurs around the world. So we have a new venture, actually, my business partner and I, Robin, right here, is called Vitas Investments. So what we do to kind of answer one of those problems is we talk to to impact investors in our connection around the world, and we ask them to channel their money to support green tech investments, specifically those that are led and founded by women. So it's called Vitas Investments. If you want to know more about it, and if you want to invest or be one of our investors, talk to Robin right here, Robin Lieberman. Just a little plug. All right, so I can take 2 more questions very briefly, and if you have other questions later on, please feel free to approach all our panelists here, and then we have to. And yes, please.
Hi, my name is Barbara Sedgwick-Billamoria, and I have a question specifically for Dr. Raj and for Gianza. I really like what you had to say, Dr. Raj, about not being in an ivory tower and really making what you do have an impact on people. And so I'm wondering for both of you, and also working in the United Nations, how it is that you take what your policies are and for you what you've learned and take it to the people who do you collaborate with to really make those impacts. Because, you know, we can all sit around all day long and talk about things that we want to do, but for me, I'm a very outcome-driven person. It's like, how are we going to really make those changes, and how does it get to the people? How do you collaborate?
So maybe I'll give you an example of where I think a couple of examples where I think we did it well. We had an opportunity very early in my career, and this is probably where we kind of went down the path of wanting to really focus on collaboration. Early in my career, I was focusing on domestic violence and South Asian immigrants in the U.S. And it was a topic that no one was going to give me any money for, but it was really near and dear to my heart, so I was just going to do it for free and make it happen. And I fell in when I put the article, because our currency in academia is publications. So my job was just to get publications, and I thought that was the end of the day, right? So two things happened with that work. One is it hit publicity, and I suddenly had to answer to the press of why people in Indian communities beat their wives so much. So that was number one, and I was like, whoa, was not thinking that was going to happen. That is my community. I want to feel protective of my own community. And so thinking about how to manage the messaging became much more central to how I was thinking about it, and learning to work with people around communications as a collaborator was really important. The other thing that happened was, in the process of getting the review done, I happened to have a lawyer who was involved with the Violence Against Women Act. That was the reviewer for my paper. And she then, after we got accepted, reached out to me and said, we'd like to take your paper. This is like one of those like early moments in my career that was just like, oh, what a privilege. We want to take your paper to Joe Biden's office, because he's going to be putting the Violence Against Women Act together. And it was purely by chance that I did something that I thought was going to be important, that we listened to the community, so we responded to what they said, and then lo and behold, somebody was going to take it and give it to the office. We had the opportunity at that point to be part of the U visa development, which is protections for immigrant women who have dependent visas. There's a mechanism specifically for dependent visas based on the work we had done. So that was a really illuminating experience. And I realized at that point that if I don't have, as a part of my research, the connection to community, so that I know the meaning of what I'm getting, have the connections with the NGOs to ensure, and this was also part of that particular study, the NGOs to ensure that when we get the information, we give it back to people who can take it back into the community to do something about it, to the policy and advocacy activists that were going to be able to utilize it to make larger scale change, and to communications experts. Like, we really think about all of those realms now. So now I do a lot with girl-child marriage, and I'm very active. You know, a very major collaborator for me is Girls Not Brides. And that is how I'm able to intersect with, that's how I got to intersect with UN organizations. And so I had this crazy, amazing opportunity where I got to present at the UN General Assembly. That's only because they invited me, and they viewed that I could be a credible researcher that would really be able to effectively advocate communication-wise. So collaboration was what I needed to do for all of that.
Thank you, Anita. And we have one last question.
I think she wanted to, it took too long, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Yes, please.
I would just like to emphasize, as Dr. Raj mentioned, or Anita mentioned earlier, the relationships. And I think the beauty of the UN Global Compact and the Women's Empowerment Principles is that it is really a platform for like-minded organizations to come together and share best practices and innovative approaches. And so for us, we really work with companies to build this relationship. And then when we do have a project in mind, we have our database where we have collected their areas of interest, their projects that they work on. So then for us, it's very easy to find these people that could potentially be interested in partnering. And then from there, you could end up in great partnerships. So That's what I wanted to add.
Thank you so much. One last question. Yes, please.
Hi, thanks very much, panelists. My name is Sarah Emerson. I'm the director of the Global Women Empowered Initiative at Project Concern International, PCI. I'm also on the board of directors of Conscious Capitalism, the San Diego chapter. Most recently, I was working in public-private partnerships in Africa, national scale. What I wanted to ask you is if you could help speak to there was an interesting Harvard Business Review article about how most social enterprises in Africa have been failing because businesses have failed to be profitable and be good in their business. And I'm wondering specifically, as Dr. Anita mentioned, sort of staying true to your values, but what are you doing specifically to ensure that there is a business value proposition in your engagements with private sector? And do you have any advice for all of us in the audience of how to effectively and ethically engage with private sector?
Fantastic question. Thank you. What a good conclusion to our questions. Armin, please.
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and say something controversial.
By all means, yes, we like controversy, don't we? Go ahead.
We don't advocate social enterprises, for instance. We call our businesses that we help young entrepreneurs build, we call them constructive businesses. They're all for profit. If it's not for profit, we just throw it away because there is, the issue that you have mentioned is real. And, with all due respect to Mohammed Yunus, I think he should have stuck to his day job, which was microcredit, not social business. That doesn't work. I know it for practice. We've been doing this for the last 15 years. We've worked with 10,000 entrepreneurs trying to come up with stuff. It's, if you really wanted to have sustainable business that's going to really contribute to economic development, you go something that is actually for profit. Now, for profit is not evil. Don't look at it through evil eyes. When we say constructive enterprise, we look at a business that has, it is for profit, but it has social environmental impact. You can actually build that. You can build it anywhere in the United States as well. I'll just give you one example. There is a really successful $200 million business in the United States that is a constructive business. This gentleman, John Chagarian, he's on our advisory board as well. He founded a company called Electronic Recyclers International. It's the largest electronic recyclers in the Western Hemisphere. It's a $200 million business. About 5 years ago, Alcoa invested some $10 million for its 10%. Since then, it's doubled its business. But here's an interesting thing. So what they do, right? So they collect everything electronic, and they dismantle it, and then they sell the parts. Now, so that you can say, on the eco side, they're actually doing something tremendous because all of that doesn't go into the wasteland with all the chemicals that exist in technology. But 2/3 of his workforce, this is significant, they all have criminal records. This is an ostracized community. If he doesn't give them a job, where would they end up? I don't need to respond to that. No one needs to be responding to that. But he has created a business model that specifically addresses that particular population because he came out from Homeboy Industries down in LA. If many of you probably have heard. So he saw it firsthand. All right, if you give me an opportunity, I can turn. Because he was a guy who grew up on the street. Today he has a $200 million enterprise by creating a constructive business. So that's how we look at this, and this is what we advocate with our young entrepreneurs. Approach it this way.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So before I conclude, does any one of our panelists have anything to add?
Maybe 1 second.
15 seconds each, and I mean it.
Okay.
15 seconds, help me count.
Okay, so I just want to summarize my thoughts listening to inspiring speakers before me, that I not only am going to build a successful business, because that's my mission and passion, but I also want to prove that being an immigrant, a woman, and not 16-year-old white, young, arrogant male, you can succeed in this country. So I want to encourage every single of you who have any doubts if they can do it, you can and you should do it.
Just to add to the last question, I would say either join the Women's Empowerment Principles or the UN Global Compact, or get engaged in somehow. And yes, Naila is waving because she has joined both. And Naila can also speak to, once you implement the principles and you give them to your HR department, which I believe Naila did, you really see great results. So I think the Global Compact has this unique position of being the bridge between the UN and the private sector. So that could possibly be an area that you could look into, and I'll be happy to connect with you later and share everything that we do in facilitating these partnerships.
Thank you, Jenna. Anita?
I hope that what happened, like my discussion and listening to everyone else, there's a lot of overlap in how we're thinking and how we're doing. So I hope that that also is illustrative of the opportunities for academic collaboration to be part of the change. And so that is one hope I have. The other hope is that I would like people to recognize I'm kind of an immigrant too. So I want to be part of the club. I was born here, but I was almost not born here. And I hope that counts for something.
Thank you so much. And before we thank our panelists again, I'm so proud of my panelists. One last word. There you go. Collaboration can never happen if it doesn't start from you, and it's a mindset and a will and a decision to make. And what is that? You have to be willing to be open, and the most important thing, you have to have that willingness and the decision to connect. I do this every day. I started maybe 5-6 years ago. I don't let a day goes by without at least connecting one person to another person every day. Mm-hmm. It takes giving to receive. Yeah? Thank you. And specifically, I want to speak to our young people who are joining us right now. Raise your hands if you consider yourself young. Everybody's young. I'm so young, yeah. And for totally the millennials, the younger people, don't be afraid to ask your mentors, your professors, your boss, anyone whom you think highly of. You consider your mentor, anyone whom you admire, ask them for a connection. You want to be connected with somebody? You want to be connected with Naila, Twyla, Suresh, anyone, and if you know somebody who can connect you with that person, do not let anything stop you from doing that. Because once you decide on that willingness to connect and be connected, then collaboration happens. You agree? Yes. Okay, so let's give a warm applause to our panelists. And so honored to be here one more time. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.